Hello, Port Alberni. We are live from the Rainbow Wave Production Studios here in the unceded territories of the Taushat and Hupachesed peoples. The wave is back, and we are going to have a community discussion on issues and developments in our lovely community. And I have brought in two wonderful guests. First, we have Mr. Todd Patola.
Well, thanks, Don. Um, Glad to be here and talk about all the great things that are happening in our community. Um, you wanted me to say a little bit about myself. I've retired now from my job, which was 22 years in Port Alberni, all of it in Port Alberni.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
As what? As Crown Council?
Crown Council in Port Alberni. So I worked for 22 years, um, doing what I could to make it a safer place.
Okay.
I started out living here. I have a house here still. And so to scoot to the end of the question, why do I want to be on council? Because I pay taxes here, and I want to make sure
Okay.
the city council does the right thing with
Very
their
good.
taxes, right, and makes them effective use of the funds of the people that live here.
And my very dear good friend who I appeared in several plays at, and that's I think, no, we met in the restaurant 1st, and then we were in the theater. My dear friend Cindy Solda, thank you for coming, darling.
Thanks, Don. Love to be here, and I'm very happy. Thanks for the invitation.
How long have you been here now? In
Where?
the
In
beautiful,
council?
wonderful Alberni Valley?
Oh, grade 7. That was like 5 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Okay, now
Long
yourself
time.
as a bridge.
Yes. But on council, I was first elected in 2002, probably about 22 years on council, in
Okay.
and out. So, yeah.
So this is a discussion or a forum on an update and issues on community developments here in our wonderful city. So let's start off with something from the past. Like we're all aware that for a while, a long while, Highway 7 had to be closed because of a forest
Four.
fire. Oh, 4. Highway 4 was closed. And for a long while, and it really disrupted business, our lives, right? Especially you. You were coming back from. So how are we? What have we learned from this, and what are we doing moving forward?
Well, I think what we've learned is roadways are a vital link to the rest of the world. For your local economy to flourish, you need to be able to access everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And when the highway closed down, it obviously affected not only the economy, which it did to a great deal, and not just Port Alberni, but also all the outlying communities. Yet further on down the road, Tofino, Upluit, a number of First Nations. So,
Sorry.
go ahead, feedback.
There you go.
But it also affected people's relationships. And I think the best example of that, accurate but not best, worst example, is on December the 26th this year, when the
Yes.
highway closed yet
Yes.
again, and might not have had as much of a effect on the economy because it was just a one-day closure,
Mhm.
but it certainly had a huge effect on people's relationships over a holiday period when a number of people are moving back and forth to see family and share the season. And again, it's a barrier to that. So these are things that what we need to learn is how to ensure that if the highway for some reason has to be closed, that there are other avenues to maintain whatever the goals and objectives that we have are.
Yeah, so that's what I'm curious about. What are those alternative options that we are exploring? I heard it said that like they're suggesting or they're lobbying or there's a group that's forming to open a certain road or something.
There's a lot of people that have different opinions on what the best route is.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we're going to be stuck with what Modi has to say, right? Ministry of Transportation and
Yeah.
Modi has told us that they are going to be moving forward on planning an emergency route, a permanent emergency route. So the emergency route that we have now, which goes down south to Yubu,
Mm-hmm.
that one is it's there, it's usable, but it's not the one that Modi prefers that for a permanent emergency route. So we're kind of stuck with what they're doing. But,
It's sort of like a contradiction, permanent and emergency.
well, yeah, permanent meaning that it will always be maintained.
Oh,
So
I see.
the road currently right now isn't being maintained and doesn't have the um, contractual arrangements that the provincial government should have in place with the landowners.
So does it boil down to again money? They don't have money enough for it? What do you think, Cindy?
Okay, so the mayor set up a transportation committee with the ACRD, and there's members on it, and I represent the city on that one. And the last meeting we had, the only meeting we've had so far, which was just after Christmas, and it was interesting because the Minister of Transportation wants to do the studies and everything. And if you go onto the ACRD site, you'll see a whole bunch of studies done on a second access out of this community. And I've been on, since 2002, I've been on a second access out of this community, and you name it, I've taken those routes and stuff like that. And it's really, and then it dropped for some reason. We stopped looking, and now we're back again. And I've asked the Minister of Transportation, like, right now, we need a temporary route, emergency route at that moment in time. If something happens, like Christmas is coming, so the meeting was before Christmas, Christmas is coming, and what if the snowpack or something happens that we can't get out of Port Alberni? And they said, oh no, the road is better than it ever was before the fires. And this is my theater voice working here. And I went, oh, okay, so we still need a temporary route, and then we need to look for a permanent route.
Yes.
And he said, well, we'll have to do the studies and look at it. Well, take all those studies, combine them, put them into, obviously things have changed.
Let me interject for a little bit.
Yeah.
Who's we?
The ministry.
Okay.
Okay, would have to take a look. So put them together, and yes, do the tweaking that you have to do, because a lot of things have overgrown from different areas of the studies and stuff like that. And he goes, well, we could have that. And I says, when's the completion time for something like that? And he said, at the end of 2024. He says, that's bull. And I says, no, that's not good enough. You've got all these studies. Start looking at them.
Yeah.
And give us the temporary route. And so what was interesting, when Christmas came at 24th, everybody was stuck on different sides and couldn't get to their families and their loved ones and everything.
They couldn't go shopping in Nanaimo for Boxing Day.
That kind of,
tragic.
Which was great for the small businesses here. But the whole thing is, it's really frustrating because, wait a second, didn't you just tell me we were better? You know, so then I emailed the CAO with the regional district, who happens to be on this board. And I said, what happened to this dialogue we had? And he says, I've been wondering about the same thing. So they're going to look forward to seeing me. And my comments at that meeting, I didn't realize would make all the press. You know, I still say the same thing. You know, it's really frustrating when you've been promised something and the alternate happens. And I was so sorry, because I said, hey, DOT said we were better. And look what happened.
We're not.
We're not, no. So between council, all council, including the mayor and ACRD, and First Nations are included in this whole thing, we are really working on that. A new meeting's going to be coming up, and we're going to address all this.
So do we have
Stay
any
tuned.
timeline to look forward to?
Well, I like things done yesterday, Don. You know that.
You sound like my mentor.
And it's frustrating. We will wait for that. Yeah.
So for now, what are we telling our community? Hope for the best. Be patient.
Be patient. I also look at.
But at least we can assure the community that we are working.
Oh my God. And I also had, and I actually posted it online, UBCM, or at one of our meetings, not necessarily, I'm not sure if it was the UBCM, but one of the conferences we were at, I taped the premier saying, yes, he's going to deal with a second access out of this community. So the moderator tried to nail him down when you were there, and he just skipped around it. But he did.
Classic politician.
Yes, very much. But he did say he was committed to going forward. When? Who knows? Maybe
That's easy to say.
when they dollar more money. I don't know.
When is election time? Is it next year or 2 years from now?
Provincially? I
Yeah.
think next year.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
So
I don't know if you wanna add
that adds to some glimmer of hope as for the time. Like if it's next year's the election, maybe it'll get working on it. sometime late this year or middle of this year?
I think part of that conversation though has to be what is the best objective that we're
Yes.
working towards. So it is a very large conversational number of complexities. We know there's already 4 routes out of the valley. Now, it's just their accessibility at this point in time.
In their condition, like for your,
But
Exactly.
but beyond that, what are we trying to achieve with a second route out of the valley? You said, is it just money? Well, when it comes to spending
well, everything boils down to
individuals'
that
hard-earned
anyway.
dollars, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not the government has money; it's individuals have money. They pay taxes. The government collects it and spends it, right? That's simple. So let's use that money in the best way possible. It's not just, hey, we'll take however much money we can get, but the best result, is it going to be a second road that parallels the first one? So now there's 2 roads to upkeep that cost money, 2 roads to maintain that cost money,
Well, that's
two
one
roads,
consideration.
2 roads
Yeah.
to monitor that cost money. People complain there's not enough plows doing snow removal on Highway 4. But if you double the size of roads and there's 2 roads, you're going to have at least 2 more
Another
plows,
plow, yeah.
right? And what if we don't? Then you're going to have half the plows and the roads aren't going to be maintained. And the conversation even goes further to what it was historically, which is the circle route. And the circle route is the route from Courtney through Lake Cowichan, or through Comox Lake, down into
Okay.
Port Alberni, out at the end of Beaver Creek, and then comes into
And
Port
how
Alberni.
many hours more is that? Like 4, 3 hours more?
Well, it depends where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But
Like if I'm coming from Nanaimo, for example.
well, you wouldn't, yeah. But the circle route isn't just a route for speed to get out. It's a new roadway that will improve the economy of the entire island because it's a second road that makes the circle. So you go up or down the island highway, and then you can go from Victoria through Souk, through Port Renfrew,
Really?
through Yubu, through Lake Cowichan,
Talk
up
about
to
full
Port Alberni.
circle.
Well, it is a full circle, and what that encourages is not, oh, it's a faster way for me to get to Nanaimo to buy things at wherever, but it's a
Thank you
route
for
that
that plug.
attracts tourism because instead of people just going from Victoria to Tofino and skipping all these other destinations, now they have a available route where they can actually visit all of the island, and all of the island will benefit. So
that's true.
if the provincial government had that type of economic development, and it's long-term economic development that you don't usually get from political parties because they have a 5-year vision window, right?
Mhm.
But if there was long-term planning, it would change the island significantly, and maybe even open up areas of land for new communities to be found.
Mhm.
And those new communities would have a direct positive impact on our housing crisis, which I think is one of your next questions.
But I just want
We'll get to that soon.
to go back. So the cavalcade at that time, which is the circle route, I had taken that route because I was part of that, and then it went way back to Jillian Trumper days when she was mayor. And what's really interesting is that Jordan Sturdy was asked by the provincial government to do the lead on different routes in
Mhm.
Port Alberni, and they came so close, right down to the planning. Everything's there, and again, you'll find that information all on the ACRD website. But and then the election came, and it was all dropped. Right? It was so close. And then there's the Haggard study too. That's on there, and a lot of. So there's a whole mess of
The Haggard
things.
study, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I
Or
don't have the
is
details.
that
It'll
related
be-
to Debbie Haggard?
The Haggard trucking, yes.
Uh-huh.
So you'll see that all on the website. Go and take a look. There's so many plans just to, now let's marry them together and figure out what's the best route, you know?
And practical, of course, because
and-
like you said, money's always involved.
Well, the circle was really important when they were building the new hospital in Courtney. They were talking about putting it by the ski mountain, where now we could have access. If we did the circle route, it would be faster in, for ambulances and stuff like that. And suddenly, of course, Campbell River wasn't very happy about it going to Courtney, going where it was going to be located, and now it's right in the heart of Courtney. And so that was dropped, and now we start again. Rally round.
Well, as long as it keeps on going, start, but don't stop. At least it's going slow as it may seem, but at least something's happening.
Well, not fast enough.
Yeah, I am. Well,
That's the problem. Not fast enough for me.
yeah, you and I are on borrowed time, I guess. So we want to hurry things up.
Well, and I don't want people to tell me the truth. Don't just give me a song and dance and a political win. Just tell me the truth and tell us the truth, the city the truth, you know? So many people were affected to the West Coast and everything. And remember, West Coast went through a lot of issues with their their highway
Hmm.
for like 4 or 5 years. And look at economically what happened there. And again, they were affected by what happened here in Port Alberni on Highway 4, right? So it was a dominoes effect across the whole island.
Well, the issue about roads and stuff also affect. I remember one time there were like holes in the highway going to Nanaimo that also
Yes,
affected
yes, I
the
remember that.
traveling.
Yeah,
Remember that?
yeah, yeah.
So isn't that also an issue? Like, well, if that happens again, like,
Well, you know, during COVID, during the fires, the island has now become a secret that's been opened up to everybody. Look how many, our population, I think, expanded 4,000 people in Port Alberni during
really,
approximately.
is that
And
more good than bad though? I mean, that's more
it
good,
depends how who looks at it. I mean, I
right?
could say it's great economically, of course it is, and tax base and everything, but others might not. It's whoever's discussing it. But the whole island, the population has just exploded.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Which now brings us to the second topic. There's so many people coming,
yes.
and there's a shortage of housing, and the homeless population is also rising. So let's go to that topic now. What's your assessment about the homeless situation here in Port Alberni? Are we worse off than other communities, comparatively speaking?
Well, ideologically, any one homeless person is a tragedy. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know that we can compare to other places and say, oh well, we have even on a per capita basis less number of homeless people. It's still an issue
Hmm.
until it's completely eradicated. It will continue to be an issue. And the unfortunate thing is, historically speaking, uh, it will never be eradicated. There are so many causes that contribute to homelessness. Yeah, I like to say, it's the oldest social problem in the world. Adam got kicked out of the garden.
We found a home somewhere.
So
I wonder why.
we are actively in the past before this administration came in. The past administration was very successful with BC Housing, significant funding for new housing, and the community expanded with the available low barrier, low income, that type of housing that is kind of the next step up to solve problem of homelessness. And we're still active in doing that.
Hmm.
And especially with the new BC government um, proposals to really aggressively attack the housing problem.
Was there any truth to the rumor at some time ago that I heard like Courtney and Nanaimo and some other cities were sending their homeless people here
No,
to Pearl River, but
no.
they
That
were
was a
coming in.
rumor.
They were coming in buses in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's a popular rumor that isn't familiar with Port Alberni. Every city has it, and the one of the great quotes I heard at the EBCM conference was from Powell River, where they have no bus service, and
Oh,
yet the residents claim, oh yeah, all these people are being given bus tickets to come to Powell River and just be homeless here.
okay.
Well, okay, but there's no buses, so I don't know how that's happening. The the
Maybe
whole
they hired or rented buses or something.
the homeless count is done not yearly, it's done yearly actually. So the homeless count is done yearly. Includes information on where people are from, in the sense of are they Port Alberni residents that have
Connections.
issues that have created homelessness for them,
Hmm.
particularly in Port Alberni. Have they come from somewhere else? How long have they been here? Are they connected to family here? And generally, uh, large portion is are Port Alberni residents. So
Okay.
they aren't people coming from other places. There is natural immigration. And so
Yeah.
your percentage of homeless people is going to be a percentage of your population that's emigrating. And we all know people are coming from Manitoba or Saskatchewan or
Oh.
Ontario to come to the island. And with that, some people may unfortunately end up being homeless because of their particular situation.
No.
If make it clear too, it's not because a lot of people think, oh, they're all on drugs or something like that. Homeless means a lot of things. One, you could be getting a paycheck, and it's that paycheck. If you don't get that one paycheck, you could be homeless. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've been to university and I was begging my landlord, I'll pay you, right? I mean, I've lived in with a hot plate as my stove and um, a sleeping bag in the
What a
basement
pioneering
floor.
woman you are.
So, I mean, I didn't have a paycheck, but I had a job, but I've just started the job. So I needed to earn some money to get an
Mhm.
apartment, right? So homeless could mean a lot of things for a lot of people. And then when you turn a certain age, you want to get out of the house. So it's couch surfing. There's like seniors who have no place to go. I mean,
That's really.
and I don't like slum landlords. I can't stand them. I think they're wrong. When I see a senior in the past, I'm not sure if there's people out there right now in the same situation where they have their stove is their heater, right? And they have no fridge. Come on, guys. There's more to me being homeless. The city, how are we helping? We've given land to organizations so they can build affordable housing. Again, where are we going with that? What's affordable? Because affordable means different things to different people, right? So we have senior housing, women.
We have temporary shelter. We have the Wonderful
Yes,
Alberni Shelter Society. We have Sage is also helping.
exactly.
Sage Haven Society. We
But
just gotta.
and churches are helping.
Mhm.
Salvation Army, the Bread of Life. But are we there yet? Oh God, no. Will we be there? I doubt it. Again, you said,
It is the real positive thing about Fort Alberni is uh, homelessness is one of those communal issues, right? It's a
Yeah.
community problem to solve, and it's particularly in Port Alberni. I'm sure other places as well, but here
Yeah.
I know firsthand that there is a community effort towards the solution. It's not just the city or the government or waiting for some other bureaucrat in Victoria to make a decision. It is number volunteers, not-for-profit agencies, churches.
Hmm.
yeah,
Uh, and
I
there's
love our
there's a
not-for-profit
wealth,
agencies here.
just a wealth of individuals
Hmm.
in Port Alberni that are concerned and are working together to each contribute what they can to the solution of the problem.
but there's families that have at Christmas got together and did things. I know there's families out there. There's the First Nation governments are working with their people and organizations to make it better, right? So
Hmm.
there's a lot individuals can do too. Volunteer. They're always looking for volunteers
Oh, yeah.
out there. So help out there and help.
Now, I'm curious about what happened down my street, the Fort Avenue. We finally had the tiny homes. I like a little background story, like how did it finally happen? Because I know there was a project. Like, how many years did it take
Yes.
to finally get those homes built and get the trailer park set up, uh, evacuated or
They're
demolished?
not all built yet.
Okay, so tell me a little bit of a background on the tiny home situation. Like, who started it first? Like, who came up with the idea?
Well, the city went forward with it. First of all, the trailers that the homeless were in, there was no proper running water. There was no proper infrastructure, meaning sewer, electricity, or
Mhm.
anything like that, right? People are on top, probably 4 or 5 in a trailer. A fire could happen, and
And it did
we
happen
have some
several
issues there.
times. Yeah.
So first of all, we had to make sure all our ducks were in order to try to remove. A lot of people are wondering, why didn't we just go in there? Well, we can't do that. It doesn't work with the community charter. We have to do it right. And
Okay.
so if suddenly you go in there and you displace all these people, where are they going to go? So now let's try to help, right?
Okay.
So the city got the land and we put the infrastructure in. It's taken a long time, and that's probably it's. If you've never taken a tour, it's worthwhile to take a tour.
I
It's
will one of these
amazing.
days, but I pass it every day going to work, and I'm saying, finally. But that, how many years did it take?
What, 4 years?
Oh, so it
Speaking
began.
of
Yeah.
Cindy saying like I want it done yesterday. So
Yeah,
how many years did that
we hear
take?
that all the time.
So the project began
Oh,
under the
God.
previous administration, which
Mhm.
I don't really know what discussions were had at that point in time. I know though that once this administration was elected, the the project was really in full swing by that point, and it's
Okay.
opened in under a year since we've been elected. So the project is financed by BC Housing.
Okay.
The project is administered by the Friendship Center.
Okay.
The city's part is, as it often is as a contributing partner. So, like Cindy said, we contributed land and infrastructure for it. And it's actually part of the larger plan, which is to build transitional housing.
Okay.
And so,
Still
BC,
there or some other place?
some other place, BC Housing has
They're only there for 2 years in these pods.
BC Housing
okay.
has a plan to build an apartment, essentially.
Oh, okay.
That's supported. And then what will happen with the tiny homes, we don't know. There's certainly, it's a growing,
Well, it could be used for transition.
it's a growing popularity amongst many communities. This is one of the pieces of this solution. Unfortunately, it requires funding, and there's yet to be determined whether or not BC Housing will fund two programs, the tiny homes as well as the new apartment building new one.
Oh, I see.
So a lot of people have asked me, what's in the tiny homes?
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
They have a bed.
Never bad.
They have the internet. They have air conditioning, heat.
Really?
It's so warm in there. I love warmth. So it was great. They have a desk. Was there a desk table? What, there was a
A
desk.
night table, I think, or
Mhm.
something.
So it's lights. There's no smoking in them. As soon as you light up a cigarette, the smoke detectors go off. It's
Mhm.
monitored 24 hours, and I'm not talking about inside the homes. It's monitored with security wise.
Yeah, of
There's
course.
somebody there. They have staff all the time. They do checks, and I'm talking about because people like to bring more stuff in than they need, and which is understandable. And they get 3 meals a day, and which is supplied by the Bread of Life,
Okay.
and they they have a sense of community a little more, I believe, and Todd mentioned the Friendship Center is in charge. The city is not capable of doing that. We can help,
Mhm.
and that's not our job.
No, no,
You know.
not at all. But when you say the city helped by infrastructure, what exactly is that? Like
So
the
the infrastructure,
land,
the
the
land, the land was
electricity?
purchased, yeah, the electricity, running all the appropriate supporting structure like the electricity, sewer, water, all the types of services that go in whenever you're building a new building. And that the tiny homes, even though they're individual homes, they still require all those services just like any other house or farm building or anything else.
They have showers and bathrooms, so everybody uses it.
Like, there's a communal shower,
Yeah, and
communal
there's washer and
bathroom.
dryer, so
Mhm.
it's really nice.
Yeah, which begs the question now, because I was, that I was smiling when you were telling me all the amenities there. So these are all tax free and practically funded by our taxes.
But
Am I
okay,
right in that assumption?
so what happens is I believe that, of course, they're probably on social assistance or disability, so the money will come off their checks and it will go to BC Housing.
Their checks from disability and
Mhm.
social.
Just like if they were renting, right? So I don't know how much, but it's enough for them to also live. Remember, they get 3 meals. They have no bills other than whatever they purchase themselves.
Yeah, these pictures,
Yeah.
their cigarettes that they get smoke somewhere else. No, I'm trying to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here.
So if they get $100, they might get 30% off. Who knows, right? Just hypothetically throwing that out. I don't
Okay,
know.
so walk me through the protocol, if that's the right term, of somebody who's qualified to live in that tiny home.
I think they would have to contact Friendship Center.
Yeah, so that's certainly not something the city gets involved in.
Okay,
So there are,
but I'm not saying you're involved in, but you're aware of it. Like, what is the protocol? I mean, you have some kind of awareness.
I know there is a protocol.
Like, who is qualified to be in a tiny home?
That's going to be dependent
The
on the
Friendship Center.
contract that they have with BC Housing.
Mhm.
So that's why I say, I'm aware there is a protocol, but as I spoke about, all the number of different agencies that are contributing, each one has their own contract with BC Housing
Mhm.
or CMHC or Island Health or whomever is the fund provider, and they will set the protocol. Good word. For how people are admitted or not admitted, and each one can be different.
because what I'm getting at is, so I had a lighthearted conversation with a friend of mine. I said, I think with all the taxes I have to pay and all the utilities
Oh.
I have to pay and all the expenses I have to pay, I'm better off just being homeless. 'Cause they get free meals, they have internet, they don't pay taxes, they get a check. So
But they
that's what
still,
I'm trying to get at.
but their checks still get deducted.
Yeah.
And I would say to you, the main reason Fourth Avenue was put in, like the tiny homes, was to get the people that were totally homeless from being not in a safe place to a safer place.
That I agree with
Right.
100%.
So that is what those homes were initially built for. And that's who the clients are. So people have asked me about that. And I said, go contact the Friendship Center and ask them the criteria. I don't want to speak on behalf
No, and
of
I'm
the
not really
contractor.
after
Yeah.
the details of the protocol. What I'm after is like the concept of, like, okay, I'm just a lazy person. I'll just go homeless and get my free meals and get my free heat and my free air conditioning, my goodness,
Yeah.
and everything. And so why don't I just become homeless and stop paying taxes?
Don, I don't think you'd like it.
I know, but all I have
That's
by
why.
the way you frame the
Yeah.
whole context of the situation is, um, what was
Don,
it
I'd
called?
rather be warm than cold.
All I have to do is
So
give up my
I can't do
dignity and get
Well,
off scot free.
and not even that, because the the concept of social assistance of
Mhm.
any type is to not judge people
No, no, no.
on
There's
a
no
moral
judgment
basis.
here.
No, but you say give up your dignity. Well, that's the point. Is just because somebody lives in a different type of house than I live in doesn't mean they're of any different value
No, they
to
just got
society. So
dealt a bad hand, so to speak.
yeah, and the purpose of um, social housing in this case, but any social assistance is it's a recognition in our democratic culture that those that have an obligation to help those who don't,
Yes.
and that's what it boils down to. And so, is are you? Is it costing you money to support people? Absolutely. It
Yes,
comes
it is.
comes out of your tax dollars,
Or my taxes or my donations,
yeah, and that's where it
which are
comes
tax
from.
deductible to a point.
And then I mean the philosophical arguments that then follow that as to, well, how much should be provided, how should it be provided, what's the most effective way of assisting the individual and assisting society at the same time.
Well, I think,
Those will take much
well,
longer than
just
this
an
conversation.
idea. I think the missing component maybe would be rehabilitation and reinstatement to, from being homeless to be in a tiny home and back into the regular flow of society. Now, that seems to be a missing component of the program, don't you
And
think?
that's what you were alluding to earlier.
It absolutely is. It's a bit of a fallacy to say that all housing is transitional, so you just move up the steps.
Mhm.
Not everybody moves up the steps. Some people get stuck at certain levels because that is the
Isn't
level.
that where we can help them?
Well, some people that's
Stuck.
just going to be no, that's just going to be the way it is. Some people, for whatever reason, and I'll some I don't have a hypothetical, it would be good. But some people, for whatever reason, will never be able to support themselves in the community. They will always need some type of assistance.
Yes.
For example, there's a number of elderly people that live in their own homes, but they do it because they have assistance, right?
Mhm.
There'll be a nurse that comes in.
Yes.
There'll be a homekeeper that comes in, right? So that's a good example. And so not everybody can transition from on the street to tiny homes to the next level, to the next level, to supporting themselves.
No, I've heard of success stories. Like this person used to be homeless, now he's a thriving businessman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So first of all, we can't assume that everybody will, but some
No,
people
no, no.
will. And one of the things that stands in the way, there's many things that stand in the way, but one of the things is the availability of the next level of housing. So you go from you live at Ryder Street Apartments and it costs you, I don't know what it costs, $300 a month, to move to a better place to live, a more elegant place to live, is going to cost you more money. So you need to earn more money.
Mm-hmm.
And those places need to exist. And they tend to not. The jump in rent from, well, what's a 2-bedroom apartment going for in Port Alberta? $1,200?
1,200, 1,100.
So
Yes.
jump from 300 to 1,200, that's really difficult. So what we're missing is
Well, then
the
we address that
transitional-
end of the discussion, like lower rent.
So we need more apartments that are in the middle, that are low income or lower income or rent geared to income, or not, not supported housing necessary, but affordable housing,
Yeah.
right? And affordable is a problem for everybody, whether you're renting or buying or
Yeah. Just like you were saying, common sense isn't there anymore. I think affordable also isn't there anymore.
That's true.
But there's a lot of people who don't want to play by the rules either, that are in the tiny homes or wherever they might be. And when I was on the shelter years back board, there was people who did not want to come in. The first thing you have to do is have a shower. Well, I don't want to have a shower. I'm out of here, right?
Oh.
And so there's a lot of that. And
Really?
yeah, there's people who don't want the rules. A gentleman who I said, "Hey, do you need to find a place to stay instead of sleeping on, like at the time, Solda's porch in front in the front there?" And he said, "No, no." He said, "I don't want to find anywhere. I'm good where I am." He said, "because it's too political."
So his homelessness is a political statement.
Oh, yeah, but he
I don't-
had money. I knew he had money because I've seen it. But the whole thing is, he
That's
was
my
happy-
point.
He was, but he also was an alcoholic. But the whole thing, there's not services to capture that, or do they want to be helped? You know,
Mhm.
like you got to help yourself too. We
Yes.
can only do so much.
Well, it goes back to the old saying, right? The old adage, like, give him a fish, he will eat for a day. But teach him how to fish, he will eat for his lifetime. So,
But sometimes,
are we giving him a fish, or are we teaching him how to
Yeah.
fish
but there's some
in this
people who-
situation?
I just feel bad because there's some people who just they don't have maybe the life skills, or something went wrong in their life. So how do we find, that's where we need people out in the streets who can go out and help these people who
Aren't there social workers
serious. And
trained for that?
there are people in Port Alberta out on the streets doing what I'm saying,
Mhm.
right? But is there enough? That's the answer.
Do they get enough
Question.
funding?
That's
Because that
the
takes
question.
money too.
And I believe the provincial government is working on that, but I'm not there. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So yeah.
I know it will be a never-ending discussion because homelessness has many contributing factors. There's the economy, there's drug addiction, there's
There's no quick fix.
home situations, there's family backgrounds and stuff like that, right?
there's also I don't mean to say this to be argumentative, but
Well, the audience
there-
loves a good argument.
there's demographics in our society.
Mhm.
There are people who prefer to live rough.
Yeah.
They prefer to camp in the woods
Hmm.
for whatever reason. That's what they prefer. Now,
It's a great country.
it's a free country, and that's a demographic to recognize that these are individuals that, in spite of good intentions, it's not appropriate to make laws to force people that choose one lifestyle to abandon that and choose my lifestyle because it's convenient for me.
Mhm.
So somewhere in this whole question about helping people, we also need to realize that sometimes we're doing more harm with our good intentions of trying to help
Hmm.
because
Yeah, that's the point I was getting at, right? You mean, I don't know how to frame it. I will always go back. Are we giving him a fish, or are we teaching him how to fish? Right? And like you said, it's a case-to-case basis. There's different kinds of people out there, and you want to help them, but they don't want to be helped. They have to help themselves. Right? That's why I feel for the guy who was running the Alberta Shelter Society. They were getting so many, contradicting reports and accusations and left, right, and center. But there's always two sides of the coin. Right? There's not only one side.
Well, a lot of people say it's so visible. Yes, we've always had homeless, no matter
And
whatever.
we're not
community
unique.
you
Every
live,
community,
every
Victoria
community-
has more homeless people I've seen.
it's everywhere. but it's more visible than it was probably than what 20 years ago. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, it was hidden more. I think it's just
Well, the economy wasn't as bad as well during back
yeah.
in the 20 years ago.
The only thing I don't like is when people who cannot afford and they go to these whatever places and the landlord um, is not helping and they don't care. Here, just give me the rent. You're on your own. And they let the place go down and I cannot tolerate that. And I'll be all over it if I see it.
So, as far as from your point of view, from the city's point of view, where are we at as far as the homeless situation is concerned? We have the tiny homes, we have nonprofit organizations helping out. And so, where are we at, and what are we hoping to get to? More funding from the government?
Funding is always great. Yes, of course. Um, it would be great to have zero homeless, but that's not good.
Yeah, I heard of a country. I
That's
don't
a
know which
perfect world.
country that there is a country somewhere in the world out there where it is illegal to be homeless.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to refer to before. Is that's not a place that I would want to go because
It's not so much illegal to be homeless, like it's but the illegal part is on the government. It's the government's duty to make sure that its citizens who are paying the taxes are never homeless because they are paying taxes. So the government should have something in place to make sure that their beloved citizens do not end up in the streets.
I've heard
I think it's Spain or something. I don't know.
I've heard Wamish say a similar thing with respect to the First Nations stewardship of the land. Is in their stewardship of the land, uh, they don't want anyone to ever be in need. They
Mhm.
want it within their territories. Uh, so that I think I would quite agree with. That there is an obligation. The so where we're at,
Yeah, so
yes, where we're
you said
at,
there's an obligation. Whose obligation is it?
senior
I
government.
think it's both.
It's absolutely senior government.
Okay.
So, uh, and you got to realize the city isn't really an independent government. We exist because the
Yes.
province said, "Oh, we want you to do this." It's like a committee, but
Like you hear on the news, like I mean, talk about money. You hear in the news we're sending billions of dollars for the war effort, and we have so many people here.
No comment.
I just can't wrap my head around it.
so where we're at is actively involved in building and securing new housing and support programs for individuals to get access to that new housing.
And a lot of lobbying.
That's yeah,
A lot of lobbying.
lobbying, and it's working because we're actively involved with. There's always new plans coming up from BC Housing. Uh, there's always new programs that are going forward, and they continue right now with the city. I mean, for example, the tiny homes. That's step one in a continuing plan of building the supported residences.
So the bulk of the money, as far as money is concerned, came from the provincial government or the federal government for
For
the tiny homes.
You know what? I don't know precisely. I would if I
I think
guess,
BC
I'd say
Housing is
BC
provincial.
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 Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious to know another thing is about what about the business sector of our community? Are they somehow involved in this issue and being able afforded the opportunity to participate or
As an
just waiting for them
individual,
to make a move?
as an individual business that you can participate in any way. I mean, we see a lot of donations going to the Bread of Life and to different organizations that help, but they have their own issues through um, a lot of the homeless are sleeping in front of their
Yeah.
stores or behind their stores. So
Mhm.
there's a lot, there's a bigger picture to all this. I mean,
Yes.
and then there's a lot of smash and grabs and just everything,
Talk
and
about smash. Our store was just somebody who ran his whole car.
that's
Up to now, our front,
But that wasn't
our
a
exit.
homeless person.
No, there wasn't a homeless. We'll go to the next topic of drug addiction. That has
So-
something related
so,
to that.
So there's a whole as you move, it starts morphing right to a lot more issues. And again, don't think Port Alberni is the unique community.
Oh no,
because
I've never
we're not.
thought that.
No, I meant
Yeah,
just
I
the
mean,
general public,
yeah,
right?
we're making it known that
Yes.
no.
I mean, it's there. So yeah, so there's a lot more, and the businesses, they've been wonderful to help these organizations in one way or another, as well as the individuals and in our community. So thank you. Kudos to them.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I guess that's enough for now for the homeless. I am gonna have another episode just for the homeless to discuss, but this will be another panel. But now let's go on to the how about crime and drug addiction? As far as you're aware, where are we at, and what are we doing about our crime and drug addiction problem, which is just another problem.
Another issue. Another issue.
What?
Do we have enough RCMP officers, or should we get some more?
Wow.
Was that a discussion in this council?
The that is a question about the efficacy of enforcement,
Hmm.
right? And where that fits within the greater scheme of how laws are enforced and people are rehabilitated who are criminals, not
Mhm.
people who may be in the criminal justice system for other reasons than being criminals. So, you can have as many police as you want writing reports and getting
Patrolling.
evidence. And if you don't have enough judges to hear their cases, then it's going to fall apart.
Oh,
Right?
do we have judges
And
here?
if you don't have enough judges, if you have enough judges, you also need to staff the entire courthouse. So judges need sheriffs, judges need clerks. The registry in the courthouse has to function. There has to be enough crown prosecutors, and there has to be enough defense lawyers. So if that part of the system falls apart, then the police can be pushing as many files forward as possible, but the bottleneck is so small that most of them will just fall out of the system and nothing will be done. So
Mhm.
it's not just a question of how many police officers or how many patrols.
Well, as you were talking about the issue on the question, I did. The key word you were alluding to was enforcement. Isn't there another component? Like enforcement would be sort of like the band-aid. I guess I don't know if I'm accurate in saying that, but isn't there something like it's the cure is better than the cure, something like that? Like a pound of something is better than the cure.
Well, I did.
A pound of prevention is better than, or an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So can we look into that, like preventing instead of curing,
The
like education or
well,
training?
Are we referring to education to the victim, or are we talking about the?
I don't know,
What are we talking about?
like more preventative measures for people not to get into drugs. It's like more awareness of the bad effects of drug addiction and like looking for the dealers so that they can sell their stuff anymore. Because we're after the users. Because what we're after, or who we are catching, are the users,
I don't
the
think
drug addicts. But if we go after the dealers, then the addicts have no supply for their addiction. I mean, just a thought or just a concept
a lot of people
for
tell
more
me,
preventive measure than
okay.
enforcement.
So a lot of people, and it's happened where people have said, "Hey, I know this is a drug house. Why isn't the police going after it?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can't. They just can't storm in there again. They have to make sure their I's and T's are dotted and crossed, right? They just can't storm in.
So
there's
what do they
rules
need
and
in
regulations.
particular?
So I guess
well, I'm gonna go back to my previous comment,
Yes.
which was the criminals, rehabilitating criminals that are involved in the justice system,
Mm-hmm.
because the illusion there was all the number of individuals involved in the criminal justice system that are not criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So drug use is not a criminal issue. It's a social medical issue,
Yes.
right? And
But it
so,
gets to
so
become criminal at one point.
so how do we assist in a social medical problem is with a social medical response.
Yes.
So that's where you don't have enforcement. There's 107 communities across North America that are using crisis response teams. And it's certainly something that has had positive results. It's decreased calls to 911 by 25%.
Wow.
So saves money on your police, saves money on your ambulance and your fire.
So do we have that here in Port
We do not.
Oh, okay.
The provincial government is just investigating some pilot projects, and it's something that, when the time is right, City Council could decide that this is a better way to spend our policing budget. Well, I shouldn't say better. In my opinion, a better way. City Council will, of course, talk about it and decide whether or not
You work
it's
as a
better
group.
way. Absolutely. But the statistics are very impressive. That these are not enforcement teams that go out. They're teams that go out to essentially like social work.
Yes.
But they have voluntary contact. They're not in a uniform. They're not forcing anybody to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're
They're just out
offering.
there talking to people.
They're offering aid, and the response is like 60% of individuals that are contacted through a crisis team instead of the police accept further services and move on to those further services. So that is a method or a way of feeding into the helping and teaching that you were referring to. Right?
Yeah.
But even if they go into help, and remember, drugs addiction could be you became a drug addict through your medication, alcohol, and then of course,
Yeah.
right, and other factors. But when you get the help, you go into a facility to get help, and then you come out. Okay, now what do I do? Right, I don't have a place to go. I cleaned myself up, and now what do I do? So some will carry on, but others will go back to the drugs because that's all they know. They have no place to go. There's no more help. It seems, unless and the city is working on that transitional thing, the housing. So
Mm-hmm.
there has to be something out there more for these people.
Exactly.
you know?
Which brings me to my next question. What are we doing in terms of affordable housing, available housing?
You love that.
Uh,
You love going back to that topic.
No, now developments, because I heard there's
Yeah.
a nice development happening somewhere in Bird Street, I think, and then there's the transition housing, and then there's this and that. So, as far as the real estate, no, we're going to the real estate part now, not the downtrodden part of housing. So, is it looking good for our city?
It's
Will developers
slowly
be coming
looking good.
here?
Slowly good. There is development. And if you're talking about affordable, I can't answer for the developers
Okay.
because we know up where Colson's is, that's not, that's a different developer that's doing that. And I don't believe that's maybe affordable. It's a medium class. The apartments, the whole parking lot up by Colson's. Yes.
So, as far as you know, what contributes to the high price of housing? Is it the taxes? I mean, there's so many things. I mean, you can go through the taxes now, which we mentioned.
Well, just cost alone. Like you talk to a contractor now, a plywood sheet costs how much money
Mhm.
compared to where it was. I mean,
Yeah.
everything, the cost just to go out and eat, costs groceries.
Mhm.
Like
Oh yeah,
everything.
my mom keeps complaining every day. That used to be $7. Now it's $17.
So what do we cut back? And how do these, and then the rules, like there's so many to build something now, there's so many different things they have to apply to go ahead and move forward on their projects. So it's just costs, and unfortunately that's on the developer. So they got to make sure when you break it all down to these apartments and stuff like that, what are you going to do?
So that's it. Okay, good.
But yeah, to answer the question directly,
Yeah.
there are a number of developers that are interested in Fort Alberni,
Mhm.
and they bring plans. And I'm going to speak very generally. They bring plans that are not just for single-family homes. And
Mhm.
Port Alberni has had a large amount of development over its history with single-family homes. And I think it's that type of community. And we need to move away from that to provide more affordable options, which are such as townhomes, row housing, apartment buildings. And those are the plans that a number of developers are bringing forward. The city, the city doesn't solicit those, but I can tell you that it's a popular place. There's a lot of interest in Port Alberni. The SOMAS lands
Yeah.
really, really aided in that, simply because it reignited the interest in Port Alberni.
I can say so. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
well, definitely. So now let's go to that. You were mentioning earlier about taxes and the SOMA stands of the development. So what are we expecting? What is the forecast as far as you can tell? Let's go to SOMAS first and the key to key. Let's talk
Well-
about the key to key
Well,
and the SOMAS.
okay, well, in SOMAS lands, we've announced that we have chosen a developer.
Okay.
We're now in the next stage of proceedings, which is working with that developer to finalize the contract, finalize what they're doing.
So there's just one developer we're dealing with, not like maybe two or three who could, expand the vision.
No, at this point, it's so one developer means not one builder.
No, of course.
Right. So the developer on a large project will kind of map out what it would look like. It's like a mini OCP, right? So they map out what it looks like, what kind of bylaw and zonings we need in certain areas, where there's going to be parks, where there's going to be streets, and then
And how much land area are we talking about again?
47 acres
Okay.
in the SOMAS land itself. I think it's 52 with the other locations.
Yes.
On it. Then those individual lots will eventually pass on to other builders or developers who will say, well, here I'm not going to buy 47 acres, but I can buy this one lot and put up a building that's going to be a light industry building, and I'm going to lease it out. And over here I can put up maybe an apartment residential building.
Sounds exciting.
And so that's where all the multiple developers with different visions come in, right? At this point in time, we're working with the one developer that is essentially mapping out the pathway forward for what SOMAS lands will eventually look like. And that's not going to happen this year or next. I mean, the end.
I remember this is not the first time I'm talking about with Cindy, right? I remember when you did the purchase, I immediately called for a live thing about it, and we were talking about it. And you even said, it won't be in my lifetime, but I'm glad we're going there.
Well, I
Come on,
also,
Cindy, you live a long life.
you never know, I'll be in that wheelchair going down to the SOMAS. No, I'm just kidding. The best thing is, like I look at the SOMAS lands, what we purchase, what money the city has put into it, we're going to get it back.
Of course.
We have no doubt on that.
That is good stewardship. That's good management.
We're not in the development business ourselves, the city. So of course we needed somebody, a contractor, to be able to do this. And a lot of people are asking me, so now what? Well, first of all, the developer has been chosen. We'll be coming to a council meeting eventually, and everybody will get to see who they are. And they are developing the waterfront in Squamish, I believe. So you can check it out. Go to the city's website. Go on Facebook. You can type in SOMAS lands. You'll see all the videos there, and you'll hear more stories and stuff like that. The other thing too is that the developer wants public consultation as well as the city, and there will be a number of them where the public can come out and say, "Hey, have you thought of this and that?" And the developer could take that into consideration. Just as long as you know, the city does have some control on this, because we also would like to see parks there. We'd like to see industry, and then we're talking about small industries and that. And industry nowadays has changed so much from what we are used to from the 70s and that, right? It could be a fish plant or something like that. It could
We
be
have that there,
anything.
the Alberni
We
Port
do,
Authority
but
or
I'm just
something.
using that.
Okay.
And then apartments with storefronts underneath them. So, and a park, and just so people could come down to the waterfront. You look at other waterfronts that had mills on the properties that have been developed, and you go, wow, I can't believe this was here. So when I go down there, and I've gone down there a few times, I drive down and I take a look at how much has been taken down, and just so people know, the buildings that have come down, everything that's coming down, only a very small amount has gone to the landfill. We have sold everything off, and it's not like you come down, well, I want to buy that big piece of iron there. No, we're not selling it like that. We're selling it to other mills as a package, right? So
Okay.
they come and take it down. We are not taking it down, only a few. And now we have North Island College students being participating, learning
That's
how
wonderful.
to refurbish, demolish the buildings, and what we should save and what we shouldn't. So, and a lot of people I saw going, oh, well, that's a way to get cheap wage. No, it's education. Just like when you go and you want to become a secretary, you go and you go to an office and you work there for a while, and you apprentice a little bit. So there's a lot of positive. This is happening.
Mhm.
Go down, take a look at the from one end of the property to where you're looking from, and go, wow, yes, visualize what could be there and what will be there. And the developer is not just from up from Squamish. He's all over the world, and he
Oh,
is so well known. And he wasn't. Don't think this is the only application we got to develop these properties. We got numerous applications,
really?
and we decided on this developer. We did our homework. We did our due diligence. And don't think the
Thank
developer
you, city council.
and don't think that the developer hasn't done it. Of course, everybody's going, hey, there's this problem. There was oil dumped there.
Yeah, so wasn't
Every,
there some like toxicology? I don't know if that's the right
we're
term.
into
Like
stage
the
2.
toxins and the cleanup involved,
And there will be some issues. And
costing
that will be the
millions.
developers.
No, was that just a rumor?
No,
That it would cost millions to clean up the place.
Well, so we've gone through the initial sites that have been identified. They've been remediated. I'm not sure if we've gotten a permit yet. I think we've gotten a permit issued to say that the remediation is complete and successful. The remediation was paid for out of a grant. It cost taxpayers nothing, and it's done.
Oh, there you go.
and there's a lot
That's
of
nice
people,
to hear. It costs the taxpayers nothing.
there's a lot of people that have taken our CAO for a walk to show what areas they had dumped stuff and did things
Okay.
and stuff like that. And we are listening. So it's not like we're not listening to this, but now with the developer coming, the public will have a chance to talk to them too, as well as to our staff.
Well, as you said, you did your due diligence, and I'm sure your developer has did his or her due diligence, and it's looking good.
So the word, yes, it is. And the word I was looking for when I said industry was light industry, not,
Oh, there you
okay, not heavy, but light industry, because we don't have a lot of land left for light industry. So this will be.
So could you elaborate a little more on the key to key thing? What are we trying to do? We're trying to Harbor Key and Victoria Key?
The pathway, yes.
Okay.
Last council meeting, council approved the final funding for it. So that will be part of the next year's budget. And we're told that barring any unforeseen circumstances, that we will have a completed pathway from Victoria Key through the rail section in the middle, between Roger Street and essentially the Catalyst Mill, and then down to Harbor Key.
The Harbor Key.
And
all barriers so that have been cleared. I mean, political barriers.
yeah,
vistas and whatever.
Yeah,
Emissions and stuff like that.
So it's and what's exciting about it is it's not just going to be a gravel path, but it's a multimodal.
Oh, I love that.
So it's a
Plants and flowers.
It's yeah. I mean,
Lights.
it'll be nice to walk on it, but it
Can
will
bikes go
also
through it or just
has the purpose of being able to go. Yeah, so it should have bike routes, disability accessible, right? So paved, lighted.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
So
I
there's
hope we
been-
live long enough, Cindy.
So there's been a lot of comments about how wide and deep and everything is on
Oh, that's
this.
good.
The pathway, but a lot has to do is before ambulance couldn't go further into
Oh.
areas. Now they could just take that pathway to certain areas.
Oh, there you
that-
go.
If they had to, right? So we got some areas where you would have to walk in to get a person, and if there's a fire. So there's a lot of positive on that part of it. And you go to, like, I just came back from Mexico, and they have pathways, and they have a multi-purpose, so bikes on one side, and and
Oh, that's
people, and I'm like, wow, in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, right? Like, I was really impressed.
Mm.
So, I mean, It's the time. You go to other communities, there's pathways all over the place. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, what about the SOMAS? Isn't the pathway going to go in on the waterfront? And eventually it will, but why would you dig it up twice if we're working, if the developer's working on it? Let's see, we want that pathway in front
Mhm.
and it'll join with the rest of the pathway. So,
That's nice to hear. I'm wonderful. I'm
yeah.
looking really forward to that. Okay, I'm gonna go off one word that you just mentioned. You already mentioned it. That will be the last topic we discussed because we're almost out of time. You said budget and budget. Oh, sorry, involves taxes. So tell us what are the budget plans and the taxes that the Port Alberni people are looking forward to? Are we going to look forward to higher taxes? I think that's moot. But just tell us what's in store for us as far as taxes are concerned.
Cindy might know more than I do, but honestly, at this point in time, I can't say. We're just starting the budget process.
Okay.
Nothing's been presented to council yet to discuss.
What is involved in the budget process? Could you just educate me on that?
It is the director of finance brings forward a budget that sets out each department's requirements for the plans that we have for them and what it's going to cost.
When you say departments, how many departments are we talking about?
Oh,
The police department,
planning, police,
infrastructure,
parks,
light.
infrastructure, lights, roadways, everything.
Well, I pay my taxes in full. I don't defer it, although I can, but I won't.
No. You're
So
not
just
old enough.
recently, I am 60 years old, mister. I can defer.
Yes, you can.
Well, anyway, I just recently, because of the ice and the cold weather, the water main in my street burst. Just a few days ago,
Yeah.
right, of Fort Avenue and Hawthorne, and I was at work and I was getting a text from my mom saying there's no running water, and my sweet mom, the first thing that went into her mind was there's no water. I can't cook your lunch for tomorrow. Oh, I love my mother.
Buy her some flowers.
Well, anyway, that was one time. So I came home. There was still a barricade there on Fort Avenue. They were fixing the problem. I think it took about a few hours because somebody told me, "Oh, this will take weeks." Oh my God! Like I can't live without water for for a week or even a day. But they had it fixed, so it came back on around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I said, I thank God I pay my taxes.
Well, the city's crew, you got to thank them. I mean, it's winter, it's cold out there,
Mhm.
and they will fix a burst. That's not a problem. They're always out there, and especially with this weather and the cold. I mean, there was not just there, people in their homes had bursts of water pipes and stuff like that. But I just, when we talk about taxes, anybody can come to a tax meeting and when the budget is presented, we look at it and we go, huh, and do we expect an increase? You bet, because we got the library is coming with an increase, RCMP an increase. There's we want parks fixed, and we've been working
And the
on that.
pool.
While the pool is a different separate issue
Okay.
because we're not there yet, but and that's a separate topic from there. So I believe we start our process we're presented in early February, and public get out there and well, we have an aging infrastructure, and to me is really important. But we're not just going to fix that. There's other things too. I mean, we could put all the money into that, but what about the rest of it? We have aging buildings. We have people. There's just so much.
Is there anything being looked into in the area of like revitalizing this area, the uptown area?
Well, but
We have so
it's-
many buildings that should actually be demolished or not demolished.
that's
maybe
not our
refurbished.
buildings.
I don't know.
We
Yeah, I
can't
know.
we can't demolish it, but we do have a bylaw we're working on, and we keep bringing up about an empty building. And some of these landlords aren't from Port Alberta. You can't force a business to go from A to B, right? They have to want to do that. So it frustrates me on a lot of things when I see things, but what do we fix? Like what do we do? You got to remember the school, collect taxes on our budget for the school. We collect ACRD taxes and we don't get nothing for it. We collect it and then it goes to.
So where does that go?
It goes to the
To
government.
develop it,
It goes
basically.
back. Okay, so the school board taxes that we collect go to the school board.
Okay.
We are just the collectors.
We have a nice
So-
school anyway, so I'm not gonna say anything about that.
So I just want people to know we are we have no choice to develop, but we have to develop a 5-year plan, 5 years. And yes, you might see the first year, oh my God, let's say that's 2% up. It's not, it's
Yeah.
more. So, and then you'll see the second year, the third year, by the time you add them up, it could be 20%. But every year, council sits down and does the following, we keep adding another year, right? So 2024, we're in. So we're going to be 2024 at the end of December. We start with 25, 26, 27, and 28, right? So we have to do that. So things can change from budget to budget, okay, in the years. If that sounds
Yeah,
I don't
and that,
mean it
that's
to be.
that's normal.
You know?
Everybody changes about every
Yeah.
year.
My main thing is what 23 is, but yes, there might be some bigger items that might be on 25, 26, and 27, and we might say we'll collect 100,000 here, and it's going to cost us 200. We'll do it the following year, another 100, so we can pay for it. You know, just like if you were signing
Yeah.
a trip or something like that,
Mhm.
you have a cookie jar. Right?
So, as far as what are the priorities that we're looking at as far as
So there's part of the budget process that is there are fees that are non-discretionary, costs that the city has to pay.
Okay.
We're on a contractual basis to pay for the RCMP.
Mhm.
We don't have any. We don't get involved in that contract arrangement.
Yeah.
We're told that's what you got to pay them. Same with we have collective agreements with unions for city workers,
Okay.
and those collective agreements determine how much their raise is going to be. So these are things that are beyond our ability to control, in the sense that we can't just say, oh, we don't want to pay that. So there will definitely be a tax increase related to those items that are non-discretionary. Then the question is the discretionary items, and that's where the public's input is really important.
So when you say public input, we have to go to City Hall and
Come to the meeting. Come to the meeting.
Come to the meeting.
Do something online.
do something online. You can put your
can-
comments now.
You can attend public meetings online
Yeah, through
right? through City Hall.
Okay.
You don't even have to get out of your comfortable blue chair.
you can want to tell us it there in your chair.
And it's those
So,
discretionary ones that
Bottom line, though, is we cannot say that taxes aren't going to go up. I mean, they always go up, right?
I would love them to go down. Never
Yeah,
mind
but
that.
is it even
realistically,
possible? No, realistically, it's not possible for
We don't,
taxes to
yeah.
go down ever,
Yeah.
it's not.
right? But is there a way for it? It's going up whether you like it or not. But is there a way for it not to go up too much?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. And that's the discretionary spending part of it is deciding what projects the city does need and how we can finance those and looking at other options to finance them aside from the tax base.
Yeah, just like
So,
getting grants from the provincial
Getting
government,
grants
or
out of
federal
surplus,
government.
any kind of partnerships. City hasn't really explored private partnerships a lot in the past. Things
Oh.
like
Yeah, that's a good
naming
concept.
rights. Naming rights. We have a beautiful arena. I'm sure somebody would want to put their name on it and give us money.
Yeah.
So things like that, right? And there are others. There are other traditional sources of funding that a city can access other than just the tax base, and that's what really keeps.
Now, who's working on that part?
Well, our staff are administrative staff are constantly. We have our economic development officer
Okay.
writes grant applications. I'm not going to say daily, but it certainly feels like it.
Okay.
Most departments write a lot of their own grants, and when they hear about it, when the government announces it, they're right there. They have staff meetings, so yeah, they're all over it. Our staff is really good at grant writing.
I'm glad to hear
Look
that.
at the money we've gotten in the last few years.
Mhm.
No matter what, tax time is not a happy time. Tax time, everybody wants to hang us. Is everybody happy with taxes? Not at all.
When I was
pay
taking my
taxes.
training in financial planning, one of the first things I remember was said was, there are only two things are certain in life: taxes and death.
Okay. When the other one is.
Yeah, exactly, right. And we just have to live with it. But I know it's in the hands of the city council to at least control it, like to control the spending, control the increase. Is that like a conceivable concept?
Oh yeah, absolutely it is. That is what the whole process is. Is the budget is brought forward by the director of finance, and when we look at it, city council can ask questions and make decisions based on, do we really want to spend that? Because it has a direct impact on the taxpayers. And that's why it's a longer process, because public should be coming to those meetings and saying, this is something that we want you to cut out of the budget because we don't want to pay for it. Or this is something that we want you to keep in the budget because it's of value to us.
Or something you add to the budget.
But what's interesting is some of those people will come and say, hey, take this out of the budget, take that out. And then somebody else will come and say, no, keep that, but take this out, you know, so.
Well, you're still pleasing everybody.
Yeah,
I
it's-
mean, that's
yeah.
that's never the case.
I think the most useful feedback that I've heard at city council is individuals that come and say, I'm not worried about paying taxes. I'm just worried about getting value for the money. And,
That is a very good concept.
and-
Just like yourself.
and I think
That's
that-
why you're on city council, because you want to see if your money is being spent properly.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And I think
That's not a bad thing,
I
right?
think the city's does a very good job at providing quality services, so that your tax dollars are being used effectively.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that there aren't hiccups along the way.
Nobody's
Doesn't mean
perfect.
that there's times when a service isn't available because something's broken or an employee is sick or something like that. But we maintain a pretty high quality of service. Always striving for higher, but it's that value for your dollar,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, so the prospective people who are planning to move to Port Alberni, that's our main selling point. It's a wonderful place to live. I fell in love with Port Alberni the moment I set foot here in 2011, and finally able to move here and live here and created the show, because that was my heart to Port Alberni. I've seen and experienced so many wonderful things in this valley since I moved here. And then I began to hear the negatives about Port Alberni. You know, people say, oh, once you pass that, when you come over the hump, you'll have the junkyard to the right and the graveyard to the left.
But that's said in every community. You were moving to another community.
So when you move down here, and it's all downhill from here. Now, Port Alberni is a wonderful place to live in. And so when I started hearing about all these negative things that being said about Port Alberni, I said, if they can be loud, oh, I can be louder. So I created the Wonderful Alberni Valley Experience. And I'm so glad you had the time to join us today, Todd and Cindy. And I look forward to more conversations and your participation on the next episode of the Wonderful Alberni Valley Experience. Signing off for now.